Hey guys, a couple of years ago, I did the Nursepreneur conference that was supposed to be held in person, but because of COVID, everything went online. As a result, we had some great sessions and we were able to include people from across the globe. So I'm actually going to start opening up this series to you here in the NurseMinder Nation. What you're going to see next is the interviews that I held with these really amazing, talented nurses who are forging their own way into the world of entrepreneurship, creating their own business, using the tools that they've learned through nursing to expand into areas that you may not have considered. So why am I sharing this with you? Well, there's a few reasons. I know that today's workplace is exhausted, burnt out, frustrated, and they also want to honor all of the training that they did in their many years of schooling to become a nurse. With that, I'm going to share with you the interviews from 2020, just when the pandemic hit, but also in the description box below, I want you to follow up with their story and see where they've transitioned to or how they've expanded or how they're growing their ever present entrepreneurial journey. And so you're going to see a series of Nursepreneur interviews so you can see, listen, and learn from them and myself included. And then if you'd like more information, you can head on over to that website. Enjoy this interview. Okay, welcome to the Nursepreneur Conference, and today we're talking with Dr. Sylette Debois. She's been a nurse for over 20 years and an entrepreneur for 10 years and an assistant professor for a major university, and she is currently the owner of Dr. Celette Enterprise and Nursing First. Sylette Debois has always lived by defying expectations. She became a mother at the age of 17, and although this caused her to adapt and defer her dream of becoming a nurse until later, it did not stop her. Instead, it made her more resourceful, and once she became a nurse, she maintained that same spirit of boldness and tenacity. In her eyes, there was no reason why nurses couldn't also be entrepreneurs, even though this was not the common perception, and she set out to make that a reality for herself and to inspire others to do the same. Celette understood that there were very few resources available to aspiring nurse entrepreneurs. She spent over 20 years working in an array of nursing positions ranging from pediatrics to critical care to management and consulting. With that experience under her belt, she knew that she had the experience and skills to become the resource that was lacking in her own journey. Therefore, she founded Nursing First, a company that focuses on educational community care and the professional development of nurses, and Nursing First Academy, where she educates hundreds of new nurses each year. She works daily to provide these nurses with the resources they need to open and manage successful businesses in the healthcare arena, as well as build their current knowledge and arm new nurses with tools to keep them learning and growing. Celette's life mission is to educate and inspire as many individuals in the nursing profession as she can, and nothing will get in the way of this God-given purpose. Welcome, Celette.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm actually really excited you're joining me. And just so for those who are listening and are watching right now, where are you joining from? Because that's not usual for a Nursepreneur conference that would be face-to-face.
Yes, and I am in Atlanta, Georgia.
Which is what I love about this opportunity to go online, is now we're able to showcase more nursepreneurs. And I thank you so much for joining us.
No problem. Thank you for having me. This is a wonderful opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's just get started with, let's get dive right in. What motivated you to start your business?
Well, if I could make a long story short, it's in my blood. My family owned restaurants when I was younger. My father's an entertainer. And so the first job I've ever had was working in my family restaurant. So that it's just in my blood.
It's in your blood. Well, as we introduced, you have many years in healthcare in a variety of different positions, and you were focused on this entrepreneur kind of spirit that was residing in you as well. So how did you decide what your business would be when you had this vast knowledge set?
So I was working in one of the many things I worked in. I was working in home care for a major home health agency. And I was the director of one of their offices, one of their biggest offices in Chicago, because that's where I'm originally from. And I was coming up with policies and changing policies for the whole home health agency. nationwide, and training the nurses, and all of this just came natural to me. It wasn't really what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to kind of delegate that out. So the more I did it, the more I loved it. And then when I stepped down from that director position to go back out in the field, I was actually doing it for other home care agencies. So I would go around, and for other home care agencies, I would train their nurses in home care. I would write policies and procedures. So I was already doing it when I decided, let me start a business doing this, because I really was doing a business anyway. I just didn't know that that's what it was called. People were like contacting me, and I just was like, hey, okay, it's a good idea.
It's almost like it found you.
It did. That's exactly what happened.
So when you decided to formalize that, I mean, I guess it was kind of formalized before, you just didn't realize that that's where your path was going to take you.
Yes.
Did you come across any roadblocks in terms of formalizing it?
So, since I've been an entrepreneur for 10 years, when I first moved here, actually is when I decided to make it a formal business, because like I said, I'd already been doing it in Chicago. So I moved here to Georgia 10 years ago, and I decided to make it formal, a real business. So the roadblock was lack of information. There were nurses doing it, but not a lot. And so, not to be, Debbie Downer, but they weren't giving out information.
Yeah.
You'd call to ask, well, how do you start it? And what do you need to do? And no one wanted to really give you information. So that was my biggest roadblock, was lack of information.
Yeah, and I think a lot of nursepreneurs go through that. I don't know why there's this kind of protective, if I share with you, then there'll be less for me. But in fact, there is so much more you get when you share. That collaboration piece, I think, is fantastic.
Yes.
I'm curious about, you had mentioned you moved from one location where you were already doing this informally to a new residence in a different city. Is it a different state as well? I'm sorry, I'm not good with geography.
Absolutely. So I'm coming from Illinois, Chicago, Illinois, moving all the way south to Atlanta, Georgia. So yes, different states.
Yeah, that makes me wonder about the roadblock of networking. So where you were initially, you would have had all these great connections. Talk about that in terms of getting started in a new location.
Absolutely. Let me just say this first. I said Debbie Downer. I forgot. My students always get me, because I always have a student in the class that says, Professor, my name is Debbie. And I go, oh, I'm sorry. So, just in case we have anyone out there, no pun intended, okay? So it's funny, because I'm an introvert, but I'm an extrovert. That makes any sense?
Yeah, there's a mix. Yeah, absolutely.
The extrovert in me puts me out there, love to meet, love to network with nurses, and social media for adults at this time was not huge. The college students were into the Facebook. That was kind of the only thing, but I had just started getting into the Facebook 2009, 2010. So the networking started that way a little. But then I also, one of the jobs I got when I first moved here, which I found on Indeed.com, not giving them a plug, but this is where I found a job.
We're going to have to get them to sponsor the segment now.
I don't own anything with them, no stock or anything, okay? But I went on there and I found a job working for the state. So what I was doing was I was a reviewer for the nurse aid training program for the state of Georgia. So I would go out to all of the schools that had nurse aid or nursing assistant training programs and make sure they were in compliance. I also taught a course for the state called Train the Trainer. Mm-hmm. So anyone that taught in the program, nursing assistant program, any nurse that taught a nurse aid training program had to come to my Train the Trainer course that I did twice a month in different parts all over Georgia. So this is how I started to meet people. I started to network. They started asking me tons of questions. So because they were asking me questions, I started looking things up. And that's when I started realizing there were so many people out here that wouldn't help you. So what I was going to do was help people. Mm-hmm. So that's how it all started. And that's the more I got around the state of Georgia, the bigger my network became, because I started meeting a lot of nurses.
Yeah, that sounds really great. So I'm going to guess you probably didn't have a step-by-step guide when you started, based on what you've shared so far. It sounds almost like you've created your own step-by-step guide, though, having walked through this process, hearing the questions, fine-tuning what it is that people need to know versus nice to know. Would that be a safe assumption that you've now got this great step-by-step guide for others to follow?
Absolutely. And I've done three things. First thing was I created the step-by-step guide. Free guide, was just giving it out at every state workshop. And actually it had nothing to do with the state workshop, but I was doing it to help. Just, I wanted to give it. I wanted to give people that wanted to start businesses help. So I called it a resource list. And so since then I've condensed it to just like simple, free step-by-step guide that I usually give out to people that, come onto my webpage and, sign up for information. So that's one. The second thing I did was I created a workshop, which was a face-to-face, but now it's virtual, and it's called the Nursing Business Bootcamp. So I go a little deeper into it. And then just recently, shameless plug.
Oh, good. That's why you're here. We want to hear what your business is. Yes.
I wrote a book with other nurses, and that's exactly what we're doing in this book that you can get on Amazon.
That's the title of the book.
The title of the book is Entrepreneurship and the Hard Road, a Nursepreneur's Journey. It's on Amazon. If you don't remember the name, you could just type in my name, because my name is kind of unique, so there's no one else with my name. So you can type in Dr. Sylette, Sylette, and it'll come up on Amazon. But what is in this book is a wealth of knowledge from nurses who have started businesses, went through all kinds of stuff, roadblocks and everything, and kind of tell you how we got through it. So it's about our journey as a nurse entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm. And I love that there's a community in that book as well, because truthfully, as an entrepreneur myself, I've struggled with many of those same things. How do you get started? Who do you ask? Who would be a valuable mentor to have? And who's just a fake guru out there in virtual world? Like, it's really hard to sift through all of that stuff when you don't have someone to go to. So I love the community that you have in that book of people who have done the work, found the roadblocks, figured out a solution, and moved forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I wouldn't mind going back just a step here. I have a question. I kind of want to know what was going on in your life and what were you thinking when you thought, gosh darn, I should just go out there and start my own business. Like, why not? This sounds like fun.
I don't know. To be honest, people started reaching out to me because of the network I was building, doing the Train the Trainer workshop for the state, which was a free workshop, but I was just giving them above and beyond what they really were coming to the workshop for, because I just felt responsible to help nurses start their own businesses, because some of them were starting their own CNA schools. A lot of them were working like for the universities, but some of them were coming there to start their own private nursing assistant program. So, but they had no clue what to do. So what did I do? I went home and I would research, and then I would pass out the information. So then that got around that, oh, she's very helpful. And she worked in home care, and she knows how to write policies and procedures and curriculum. So then people started reaching out to me for other things. And then I just started doing it for them. And then I said, I need to make this a business. I have to put like contracts together. I just start Googling stuff.
Isn't that funny? Because I get the same thing. I'll have past students email me randomly questions, and I'm like, why are you asking me this question?
Right.
But when you start to pay attention to what the universe is bringing to you, and you pay attention to the themes that are coming your way, then you start to see that the path is unfolding in front of your eyes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just got goosebumps, to be honest with you.
All right. You said earlier, it just kind of fell in my lap. Like, Celette, this is what you're supposed to do. Yeah. You're supposed to help other nurses. You love it. You're passionate about it. Yeah. Do it. And start researching.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned you started for free. I'm going to just divert a little bit from the kind of the questions we had talked about, because I think this is an important part to put in here. You talked about doing it for free at first, and lots of people were reaching out to you. You're happy to give, and then you start to think, maybe this should be a business. Yeah. How did you kind of look into pricing and how you would start to charge for these services so that you could legitimize this as a business?
Let's just say that I undervalued myself at first.
All do. We all do. And I want people to hear that. You do not need to do that.
Not need to do that. Matter of fact, undervaluing yourself makes others undervalue you.
That's right.
They'll say, oh, you're cheaper, you must not be that good.
Yeah.
Or you're cheaper, so you're not that professional, so I'm going to hound you differently than I would someone that is professional. They think they kind of, you know, some customers will start to think they own you. They can call you at any time of the day. You have to, first of all, we're nurses, so we're already a profession. That's first of all. So you have to be able to bring that same mindset, and I wasn't able to do that at first. I was thinking nurse, business, two different things. I don't know how to put them together because we're not supposed to be doing this. We're supposed to be working in hospitals. You're not supposed to be owning a business. So if you do own a business, that's something separate. Don't bring your nurse profession in. Act like a rookie, you know. So it's almost like you're begging for people to pay you by offering them, oh, okay, $100. You know, just it was actually pathetic at first, to be honest with you. And the more I went into the business and started talking to other people, the more I started meeting nurses. They were like, why are you charging that? That is at least a $1,500 job, and you're charging $500? And I would say, well, I'm new, and you know, a lot of people don't know, but you're writing 100-page policy and procedure documents.
Yeah.
And you're charging $500, but it took you days to do. So I undervalued myself. And like you said, nurses do not need to do that. We are a profession. We already are a profession. So going into business is just adding to it. It's just another piece of it.
So it sounds like the informal research actually found you then too. As you were sharing with others, they were telling you that you were worth more.
Yes.
Instead of that market research up front. And maybe you did the market research up front like a lot of us will do. We'll call an agency, hey, I'm looking for some services, and you want to kind of see what your competitors are charging. And they, excuse me, I hear so many nurses say, once they know what their competitors are charging, they undercut that to get the business. But you have hit that on the head in saying that actually looks like you are less than professional, less than capable, and that the quality of work might in fact not be represented in the quote that you're giving people.
Exactly. Why are you $500 for a 100-page policy and procedure manual, but I could go online to this company and get one, same 100 pages, but they're charging $1,500. Oh, they must have a better product, so I'm going to buy that. That's what a lot of people do.
Yes, I've heard that same messaging. There is no advantage to being the lowest priced person out there in your niche. Zero advantage. No. So if you can't be, like there's no sense going lower than the lowest.
Yes.
Then you want to be the best, which means you increase your value for the price point. That's one of the things I learned early on, and I share that here too for those who are thinking, how do I price myself? Price it what you would be worth. Yes. Don't go under that. But we do it because we're so hungry to be validated that this is where we should be, right? I'll take anything.
Yeah. When actually the validation is within. To even start a business is amazing. First of all, let's even step back. To become a nurse is amazing. You've already done the hard work. All the rest of this stuff is easy. We did the hard work when we went through school. That was hard. And when we passed the NCLEX. A business, yeah, it's a different lane and you got to, you know, learn some things. But if we could do nursing school, we could do anything. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, it is true. It's one of the hardest degrees to get.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so we're in the mindset of you're starting to price yourself. People are telling you you're worth more. You need to charge more. What were you saying to yourself, and how did you first come out, like when you first verbalized those higher prices? Because that's pretty nerve-wracking for most entrepreneurs to actually put it out there. Yeah. Talk to us about those moments and what you were thinking and what you were fearing and how the universe responded.
First, I will say, don't get too personal with your customers up front. And that is because it's going to make it harder for you to stick to your price. So that was mistake one when I raised my prices. So when I went up to $1,400, oh, I am just struggling and it is just so hard and I just can't pay that. Okay, what about 900 and I'll let you pay it in 2 installments? Like, that's how you talk to family and maybe even close friends. That's not how you talk to potential business, associates. You don't go to Walmart and pick up a $1,500 TV and go, I'm struggling. And they go, okay, this is what we'll do for you. We'll call the corporate office and we'll ask. No, either you can buy it or you can't.
That's right.
But as a nurse, you know why we do that? Because that's in us. That's our profession. We're caring. We're going to go, oh yes. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. So that's why I say, and my personality is one that is going to, that's what I mean by I'm an introvert, but then an extrovert. When I talk to people, this is me. I'm telling jokes, I'm having a good time. I like for people to be comfortable, have a good time, but you still have to maintain that professionalism up front. This is your price. And if they can't pay it, okay, well, whenever you're ready, that's how you approach it. Whenever you're ready, come back and, we can work through, your payments and, or whatever.
That's right. Yeah.
You don't go down. You do not go down.
Yeah. You need to be creative sometimes. So there's another phrase that I teach some of my students as well, is if they don't have your price, they're not your client.
Yes. Absolutely.
It sounds like a hard line, but if you have some alternative strategies for them to meet your pricing, then they can still be your client. So you need to be creative. You can't just say one and done, but if you have some pricing plans, and in fact, they'll more often find the money if you tell them, let's say $1,400. You go, you can do 3 monthly payments of $600 instead. They'll be like, oh, damn, that's going to cost me more. I got $1,400 all of a sudden, Suddenly they become your client.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And expect the same things that you give people. So if I go on your site right now and you're offering something, I'm going to buy it. I'm not going to contact you and say, could you please lower the price? I'm going to look on the site. If I can purchase it, purchase it. If I can't, but I really want it, it's valuable to me, I'll come back and get it. So that's how I'm going to do people. So I should expect the same.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. So the first time you said those words, were you kind of afraid when that price came out of your mouth?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And what was the reaction?
A few people never replied back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Not your client.
Yep, not my client, like you said. And I even reached back out, because it's okay to do that. Reach back out, keep on your subscription list. That's okay. And if they unsubscribe, that was another thing that would make me sad. Like, people are unsubscribing. But like you said, that's not your client. You want to help people that need your help. You know how valuable you are and how professional you are. So don't undervalue yourself. And if you have to keep saying that to yourself, if you have to literally, while you're on the phone with that customer, put a piece of paper in front of you and says, don't undervalue yourself. You better not go down in that price. Stick to your guns. If you have to write that somewhere on a wall in your office, then do it. Yeah. So the first time I did it, very nervous, and no lie, I actually fumbled. I fumbled and I just gave in. But then when I was really serious, like, no, that's it. I'm not doing that anymore. Then people would just never contact me again. But like you said, they're not your client. So
yeah. You know what that's fumbling? It's like that muscle memory of saying 500, 500, 500. Now you got to retrain that monkey in the brain to say 1,400. And he's not comfortable with it either. But it doesn't take long. As soon as the first person grabs it without hesitating and blinking, you're still undercharged. You need to eventually boost those prices up.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so coming back to some of the questions that we talked about earlier, we've kind of danced around some of them. So I want to just go to maybe the actual business part of business.
Okay.
Because you're in a different country and in your state. I'm wondering about licensing and insurance and those kind of pieces as to what was required for you. So you advertise yourself as a nurse.
Yes.
Right. So you can be in nursing practice, advertising as a nurse, in which you fall under, we call them competencies here in Alberta. Okay. Those yearly things you have to, I don't know if you do the same there. We have to fill out documents every year saying how we're meeting our competencies to be a nurse.
It's a little different, but we do something every 2 years.
I like 2 years. That sounds great. And then you can also be outside where you're not promoting yourself as a nurse, but maybe as a healthcare specialist. And so there's different parameters for the two. Talk to us about what that looks like in your state.
So as far as really the United States, pretty much most states require that registered nurses every 2 years renew their license. So that's just a matter of paying, paying the amount of money. So I'm in Georgia, so it's $65. Because $65, but it goes by state. So it's the United States overall, we all have to do it, and it's every 2 years, but each state sets their amount. So for Georgia, I pay $65 every 2 years, and you have to have what we call CEUs, continuing education credits.
Yes.
And so you have to have 30 of those every 2 years, and then you upload them. So that's kind of like what you all are doing, where you kind of fill out what are you doing to meet your competencies.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have classes. So I still do that because as a professor for a university, and I teach in the nursing program,
yeah,
you have to be a nurse. So you still have to do all that nursing stuff, because you can take students to clinical, teach them labs. So you still have to maintain all of that. Now, as far as my business, because I am a nurse and I'm doing healthcare education for companies or healthcare education for individual people, like having classes, I'm still a nurse and I'm still a professional. So to cover yourself, you just have to have like nursing liability insurance. That's it.
Mm-hmm. And that would be an annual fee then for you.
Yes, that's an annual fee. And we use NSO. That's one of like the big things, Nursing Service Organization. It's like a company that just gives you, it gives nurses insurance, like especially for nurse practitioners.
Yeah.
It's really good for them too.
Yeah.
There's different companies that do it.
I want to just share with you, because I think for those who are part of this conference, they're all thinking now they're going to move to where you live. It's $65 every 2 years. To be a registered nurse in Alberta, it's $600 and change every year. Every year. I know. You saw my mouth drop when you said 65. I was like, oh my God.
That's devastating.
It's a lot of money. It does give us insurance though with it, so maybe that's the difference, because that's included in our yearly fees. Yeah. But not business insurance. Business insurance is completely different, so we have to have business insurance as well.
Now, if you work for a hospital, you have they cover you. But you could have your own insurance if you want. But even the insurance is not that much. It's probably $300 a year. But that's just for my business insurance, like just being a nurse consultant. That's what I consider myself. Yeah. I'm out there doing health education and different things and doing classes and webinars and workshops. You just have to have consultant insurance.
Okay, that sounds great. Maybe I'm moving there too.
Come on, let's do it. And
my goodness.
I don't know if you all do this in Canada, but I have what they call my license, oh my goodness, a compact license. So I can work in a whole bunch of states.
Oh, yes.
And I don't have to fill out any more paperwork to go there.
Yeah, we do not have that here. For every province you move, so we have provinces instead of states, you have to fill out paperwork and apply and have everything transferred over, and it costs money and there's a timeline. Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
Yeah, so, the whole goal of this conference was to help people become business owners in their own community, but we might have just been a promotional ad for moving.
You all can come on over to the United States and have a business, can't you? Can't you do business in the United States?
Yeah, absolutely. So mine is speaking, right? I do speaking and coaching and mentoring. So I absolutely can do that.
There you go.
Yes. All right. Let's see. What do we got left here for questions? I have here, how long did it take you to put your plan into action? Once you decided you were going into business, did you ramp up that day, or did it take you some time? Like, people get hung up on branding and logos and colors and business names. Did you find you had that same kind of delay, or did you just jump in?
Okay, can I tell you something funny?
Yeah, for sure.
I've been an entrepreneur for 10 years, and your question is, how long did it take?
Are we still ramping?
10 years. It is, when you're doing it all alone, it is a work in it's a work in progress. Let me tell you why. Because when I first started, the name of my business was SD Consulting.
Pretty common, yeah.
That was boring, but I didn't know any better. I just said, oh, I'm going to take my first initial, last initial, call it SD Consulting. That doesn't say nurse. That doesn't mean anything. I started advertising. Other nurses just didn't bite. Like, what does that mean to me? That's nothing.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by it's good to get a coach. It's
Yeah.
good to have someone that gives you a guide, or because I work with people with those names. People come up with the weirdest names, and I'm like, this is not brandable. This is not marketable. This is not, for me, it was a work in progress, and I'm just now getting to that point where I know exactly how to brand, how to market, how to sell, all the different sites and things that you need to do, and the stuff you put in the background, and having a virtual assistant and all of that. But I didn't know any of that 10 years ago.
No.
Any of it.
Yeah, and that's the same for me as well, right? I think a lot of entrepreneurs, I actually did get stuck on trying to find a name for a very long time because I knew the communicative value. As you mentioned, SD Consulting didn't tell anybody what you did for them. And so I really got hung up on branding for far too long. And as you mentioned, as you just dive in, for those who are listening, thinking about it, just start, dive in.
Yep.
Yeah. A little bit of
name, your color scheme, your logo. It's a lot that goes into it. And the reason you need someone to help you through it is because once you get it and it's out there, it's out there. Don't you want to do it right the first time is what I always say.
Yeah. I just noticed a little bit of audio funkiness on my side. I know that with everybody being online right now, Zoom, I'm sharing this to everybody who's watching. If you've noticed a few glitches in this video, it's because Zoom has put out notification that they're going to decrease the bandwidth for conversations if you have larger groups, but I did notice a few funky things. I don't know if you noticed that.
Wow. No, I didn't even catch it.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Let's just see. What are your top 3 lessons you would like to share with the audience about, it says about building a brand. Talk about a segue.
Perfect. And it's some of the things I said. So here they are. Take your time. Don't jump into a business. 2, get a coach. Okay, that's 2. Get you a coach, someone to help you. And 3, be very clear about what your purpose is in business. Don't fall for what's popular. Mm-hmm. If you see everyone starting a home care agency and you go, ooh, and they're making big money, I want to do that. But it's not really your passion. You will not put your all into it. You will waste time and waste money. As a nurse, we have so much to offer people because we have so much knowledge. So go for what you're passionate about. Don't worry about if the industry is saturated because you can always have your own little style. There is enough money out here for everyone. Do not be in competition with anyone but yourself. Other than, there is competition, but just be the best you. Okay, that's my 3rd one. I'm just trying to sum it all up. Yeah. But be very clear about what you want to do. Mm-hmm. Be very clear. That's the 3rd and final one. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's really important because I teach CPR for stroke on the side, and everyone, there's 100 million CPR instructors out there, and I still get business, and it's such an important thing for people to understand.
Yes.
As you do it, you need to be able to create your niche, and people will be there. They're going to fall in love with who you are as a person, how you interact, what you stand for, and that's where your business will be.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Is there anything else you want to share? Feel free to just ad-lib now. And
if you are a nurse practitioner, do they call them nurse practitioners over in Canada?
We do have nurse practitioners, yes.
If you're a nurse practitioner, please get a coach. Do some type of, business course. It doesn't have to be the traditional going to a university and paying thousands of dollars. There's things online, courses you can take, because you are a business. From the moment you graduate as a nurse practitioner, and I'm not a nurse practitioner, but I'm just saying from the moment you graduate, you are a business.
Wow.
Second,
is that on your end?
Yes, and I don't know why it keeps doing that. That's my email and it's supposed to be off. Just dings.
I'll be honest, I thought that was maybe Zoom saying, hey, we're going to decrease your bandwidth now. Ding, you're going down again.
No, sorry, everyone. Yeah, that's my little ding for my message. But anyway, so as a nurse practitioner, know that the moment you graduate, you are a business. Two, as a nurse, don't feel like you have to leave the bedside to be an entrepreneur. It's okay to have multiple streams of income. It's okay to be that cardiac nurse that has worked on a heart floor for 30 years to say, you know what, this is my niche. I want to teach people how to do this. So you still work on that floor, and then you also go out and teach maybe other nurses how to be great, cardiac educators.
Yeah.
We have something to offer this society. All over the world, we have something to offer. So realize you have something to offer and don't feel like you have to get out of nursing. I believe we should step up and have more entrepreneurs that are nurses. I really do.
Yes, I agree. That's amazing. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your journey into entrepreneurship.
Thank you.
It has included a vast array of different avenues. You've highlighted some really important gaps that you were able to identify and fill, and created your own courses for nurses who are starting to become the business boot camp.
Yes.
I love it. I'm hoping we can put a link to it down below.
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Now, don't forget to check out the description box below to see what they're up to now. Did this amazing entrepreneur stay in the same field? How has their business grown? Did they change? Did they go back to nursing? Find out below. Now, as you can see, I am working from home. I am still in the entrepreneurial business, although my business is also shifting and evolving. So follow us, like, share, comment. Let me know how this has been helpful. We always want to support each other as we move forward to the lives that we most feel fulfilled in. And as always, go out there and make it a great day.